You can't let that get you down, though. You have to really. When I started writing, it was more for me personally. It was such a fun thrill for me, and I thought if I sold books, fantastic, and if people like it, even better. But I don't, I wouldn't stop writing because of that. I want to continue doing it because I enjoy it, and I think that comes across in my stories. So.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, it to me, it seems like writers write because they have to write. It's not like they're motivated for money, to obtain money or to get even fame in that regard. It's almost as if they just crave that therapeutic zone themselves, and getting something down, they're so motivated to do that. And I love the story of J.K. Rowling, and her her path to this whole huge thing that's the Harry Potter books now. But can you imagine being what was she, a single mother and just no prospect? If you know the story, you might want to tell it.
Well, I don't know all the details. I just know that she had a place that she went to, as a coffee shop or someplace in Edinburgh, and that's where she would go and write. And I'm not even sure. I don't think it was picked up right away from certain publishers. That was a process too to get the books recognized. So that's kind of the key, I think, for any writer is perseverance. You can't go into it, at least I don't go into it thinking that you're going to become J.K. Rowling. You know what I mean? You really can't set the bar to that level, because I think if you are doing it as a love and passion and you're telling a good story and you're enjoying it and having fun with it, I think your readers will too. And just perseverance to just keep writing, keep doing your thing. And I don't know, if everyone's level of success is a matter of perception, I guess, and hers is amazing. I mean, I would love to sit down and just ask her, how in the world did you have all of that in your head, and all of those characters and the details of that? That to me, I know what it takes to write a character detailed on what they look like and how they talk and how they think, and then add all the storyline and all the subplots and all that was going on. That just fascinates me. And then to keep track of it, that's the other thing. I would love to know just how all that was in her head like that.
Yeah, and I understand, I've heard her being interviewed, says that all that seems to have been presented to her at once, in a large kind of a download or some kind of a situation where she didn't make it up as she went. It just kind of like fell into her brain somehow. And she was just like writing it down as fast as she could, I suppose.
I know my husband, he told some folks when he read the second book in my series, it takes place in New Orleans, and it's a little darker, and you've got voodoo. And when he finished writing that book, he told folks that he was going to sleep with one eye open, because he just couldn't understand where all that stuff came from. Was that in your head? And what's going on in that brain of yours? I said, hey, you don't really want to know what's going on. But that's how it is. It's just there, and you got to tell a story.
Well, and isn't that true? You when you write a book like that, you are giving birth to like a whole nother world that is inside your head that you normally would not share with folks, not even your husband, I would imagine. Like you said, he was quite surprised to see what you created, and might not have realized that you were having those thoughts or patterns in your brain. That's just a fascinating part of being an author.
Yeah, that's exactly right. there are some folks that, why they have a pseudonym, that they don't write under their, they have a pen name that a lot of times, I've read interviews with other authors that have done that said, I wouldn't want my parents to read, the kinds of stories I'm writing, or someone to know at work that I'm writing this kind of a thing. And because it's like I said, it can be very personal. And when you're putting that information there, you're thinking, wow, people are going to be reading this. So
I think you're just telling a story plot for another book right there. Some really fantastic author who has a pen name, and people around him and his work and family have no idea who this person is. That would be a fascinating story.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Are there any authors out there, there's plenty, but are there any authors out there that you particularly admire, and tell us why you would admire them?
I think I've gone through phases of authors that I've enjoyed, throughout my life that change over the years. I used to read a ton of Nora Roberts books just because at the time I was into romance very heavily. She did some paranormal writing as well that I enjoyed that back, this is many, many years ago. I've kind of weaned off from her. She did some J.D. Robb that I like, the detective stories, Then I liked Jem Ivanovic has been my latest author that I enjoy. I think I got into more of the comedy side of things. The Stephanie Plum series is just hilarious. There's a sense of humor there that just is wonderful, and that kind of spurred my book, Point and Shoot for Your Life. It was a complete separate book. It was a kind of a comedic mystery suspense type story, and I wrote that in first person, which was completely different. My paranormal mystery series is a third person, but I wrote in first person, so that was stretching my writing skills and something new and something different, and that is a whole different world. But I had more fun with it because I was me as the character talking and speaking and, acting out the scenes, and that was kind of fun. So her series and her books kind of, I guess, awoke a new type of writing style for me, and I admired that about her, being able to bring that out in me. And I've read, I like the Da Vinci Code. I've enjoyed those stories. I kind of like a lot of mystery thriller type things. I did read one Stephen King book, not really into his writing. I don't get into that kind of thriller type writing, to that level. But again, when I read other authors like that, sometimes it will help me in my writing, and sometimes a new kind of style of writing as well.
Well, yeah, and I would imagine it's very interesting to see other writers' pacing and how they tell the story. That would be a good thing to get from other successful authors as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the comedy thing, is that something that you enjoyed experiencing and writing, or was that difficult for you to do that?
No, it was very natural. My husband laughs at me. I like that slapstick physical comedy. Like I've always loved Lucille Ball. Just that kind of funny comedy where, something's happening and they're just, I don't know, that was just my style. And when I started reading the Stephanie Plum series, it was just, she's in this height of, frenzy of mystery or something thrilling going on, and there's something humorous that happens, and it's just, I love that kind of comedic relief and that kind of a thing. And that's what this story did for me when I wrote it. I kind of had that weaving in and out where, kind of warmed my heart, and I've had others tell me that, they enjoyed the character and took them on a ride, so to speak, that they had fun with her. And that's always fun when a reader tells you that, when you're trying to get that across and somebody actually gets it or understands it or has fun experiencing it, that's kind of a nice feeling for any writer.
Oh, definitely. And the Lucille Ball thing reminds me of Lucy and Ethel on the assembly line with the chocolates going too fast. Remember?
Yes, that's my favorite. Yes.
Yeah. The idea that, I mean, that was just like a sight gag, no dialogue at all, and they just did a fantastic job of that thing. And then those are just great classic examples of comedy, but with a storyline as well. So if you can do that, you really got a talent there. If you can pull off, especially in the paranormal and mystery series genre that you're in, and throw in some comedy here or there. That have you ever thought, by the way, and been approached maybe with potential options to do a film for any of your books?
Oh, that's my dream. I've told my husband forever that I would love to have that happen. I'm starting to get the books out on audio book right now, and that has been a thrill because you've got, an actress reading your story and literally bringing it to life. It's like these characters have stepped out of the book, and I've always seen them in my head, and you create them and you put it on paper. But when someone's narrating it, and putting all that emphasis in the inflection of the voice, it's thrilling for me to hear it, and I would love to have that happen. I've said many times my books, I could see that being a movie and having my characters on screen, Oh,
I'll bet. I'll bet you've even thought of potentially the actors and actresses that you would love to be in the film.
Sure, yeah. I've had different thoughts in my head, and it's just kind of fun to, and sometimes you'll portray your characters in that way and you don't even realize it, when you're writing. You kind of envision and you see somebody that you could see taking that role. And it's a lot of fun being able to create that.
Well, we've got about 3 minutes left here, but I can't let you go without, you mentioned the idea of an audiobook. How would someone, if they were interested in a book they might have already written, get it into an audiobook? Would this be something you recommend they hire a company to do, or could they do it themselves?
You can, many people do have that ability to read their own story. If you've got the recording equipment, there's a lot of standards that are out there. I went through acx.com. That's through Amazon. And when you go through them, it's, you're strictly with them. They put it out on iTunes. It's out on audible.com. And you can find narrators. You can put it out there for people to offer their services. You kind of put it out for bid, so to speak, that somebody will audition for it. And it's a whole new ballgame for me. I've never done this before, and it's been a blast. It's been fun searching the right voice, that can read your story. And there are a lot out there that you can choose from. But when you find that right person and you work with them through it, they just go through and record each chapter and upload it, and you listen to it, and you make edits, and they change it, and eventually get a finished product and get it out there. My comedy book, The Point and Shoot for Your Life story, is out there on audiobook right now. That's the first one I've done, and I'm in the process of just beginning Solid and Secret.
Oh, that's wonderful. I can't wait to do that. Because, people nowadays, when they have their commutes, they would love to listen to audiobooks. in the car, for instance, when they have some time.